Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the 6 hours of Nordschleife here with ACM Racing. We have 6 hours of Nordschleife today. The grid is a big one. We've got 70 drivers on the grid at the moment. I believe that's just hit 73 as well, so you can see on the right hand side of your screens the track map is fairly full, but we do have quite some good drivers on this grid. It's a 6-hour race today, and there's a 4 times time multiplier active in the session, so we will have a full 24-hour day night cycle in this race, and of course with 70 drivers on the grid there is plenty of action to come up. We are in qualifying at the moment. 7 minutes of the qualifying session is remaining. We're on board with Jan Thierry at the moment for Bowler Squad Racing, who is currently in P1 with an 808.275. They're in a Lexus as well, which is an interesting choice, but regular to see at the Nordschleife. As mentioned, this race is hosted by ACM Racing. We host a race every weekend, followed by 5 sprint races every week. acm-racing.com if you want to check it out. But of course, we will be covering the action for the 6 hours of Nordschleife today. That is part of the 2026 NLS Endurance Series, of course a replica of the Nordschleife Landstrecken Series in real life. With an endurance race at Nordschleife every 3 weeks, hosted by ACM Racing. So as I said, we're on board with the Jan Thierry at the moment. They are the driver in first place at the moment for Bowler Squad Racing. And number 276 Lexus has a 808.275. Closest to them is Prina in the number 28 Ferrari, who at the moment has an 808.870. So of course about 6/10 difference between those two drivers, but very fast lap times, of course. The closer you are to the 8-minute lap time, the faster you are, and of course we see quite a range of lap times set in Nordschleife. It is quite a long track, a lot of corners, a lot of places to go wrong. So of course you can see left hand side, about 10 seconds or so between P1 and P23. So down towards the rear of the grid, as I said, there are 73 teams active on today's race. We have Bugra Yelbe at the moment, in the number 91 BMW. They are out on a lap at the moment, of course in P73 at the moment. That is the rear of the grid as it stands, but we'll be seeing what they can do during this qualifying session. There's 5 minutes remaining, of course 10 minutes session overtime as well, so people have plenty of time to set a lap. Lap times around Nordschleife are of course 8 minutes long, so if someone wants to get out and do one now, they've got time, but they will need to make it fast and of course make it without mistakes. Up into P8. Julian Vigneron has just been promoted. The number 217 JB17 Ferrari has just been promoted into P8. They have just hit a 8:13.2, of course within 5 seconds of the P1 position. Round here at Nordschleife, 5 seconds is the difference of a few corners. As opposed to tenths on a normal track, the Nordschleife has quite a variance of lap times here, and there's quite a lot of fast drivers who tend to put in some fast lap times. Got some fast drivers on the grid today. I believe some are looking to start from the rear of the grid as well, so we'll see some action from them coming through the back of the field. P2, still Alberto Prino at the moment. P3 has been taken by Dmitro Tkachenko at the moment for the VDES Portal number 66 BMW. They're set an 8:10.145, so of course the first driver above the 8-minute 10-second lap time, but I'm sure that Tkachenko has plenty of seconds to gain. P4 at the moment is taken by Thierry Jayas for the LFM GTC 12 Hours of Bathurst team. Of course, they are in a Ferrari as well. P5 just in the pit lane as well. Maurice Schwander for the Modern Motorsports Lexus, number 911 car, sat in the pit lane at the moment. 8:10.585, very fast lap time, but of course a few tenths in there would promote them a few positions. Seems like they're not going to go out for the end of this qualifying session, but we'll keep our eye on things to see what happens. Another VDES Portal driver, Ilya Ivanik, out in the Lexus at the moment. Number 847 driver is in P6 as it stands. They have an 8:10.717 on the scoreboard. Of course, they are on a lap, out on a lap at the moment, trying to improve that time, trying to take off those tenths, those seconds to see where they can qualify. P7, Jacob Regmont for the Monoke Lexus as well. Another Lexus that's on the field. It's the 4th Lexus in the top 10. The number 26 car driven by Jacob, currently of course in P7, 8:11.292. That's just above 3 seconds back from P1. Of course here at Nordschleife, as I said, those seconds are quite easy to gain. You do just need to put in your lap and put it in perfect. P8 at the moment, taken by Nathan Cartwright for the Red Panda Racing Mustang. The number 627 car has an 812.5 on the leaderboard at the moment. They're about a second back from their P7 target in front, but of course, as I said, Nordschleife, plenty of potential to gain some seconds out there, so we'll be keeping our eye on that Mustang, see what they can do. Tescu, the Atlas competition Ferrari number 986, out on the lap at the moment. They have currently a set 812.6, so of course only a tenth or so behind the P8 position. But it looks like they will be setting a new fast lap within the next few minutes. P10 rounding out top 10, Julien Vigneron, the JB Motorsports Ferrari. The number 217 car has a 813.2 set at the moment. Of course, very fast lap time for that car, but we'll keep our eye on things. They're in the pit lane. Not sure whether they're going to go out again, but we'll keep our eye and see what they can do. Alberto Prino currently out on lap. They're in P2 at the moment, but they are 2 seconds up on their lap time. They're about halfway through their lap at the moment. Of course, plenty of the Nordschleife are still to come. They've got a car in front, potentially on a slow lap, which they will have to navigate carefully and hope that they don't lose too much time. A little bit of contact's made, of course, that'll be reviewed by the stewards. Hopefully not too much of an impact to Prina. They're now down at 1.5 seconds, but of course, if they can just gain 6/10, that'll promote them into P1 for this race. And of course, starting P1 in a race like this is important. You want to get through those first few corners without the back of the grid coming up and catching you. Of course, we are hoping that the first lap is clean, but around here with that many cars, there's a high chance of a contact. Seems like Alberto Prino certainly is being caught up by this driver here. Seems like they're on a fast lap, so no overtaking is of course allowed. So Alberto Prino, seems like they may be having to end this qualifying lap as it is, but we'll keep our eye on things. They are 2/10 down on their lap now at the moment, so it's unfortunate to see, but they definitely had the pace in there. Another driver with some pace in there, Tkachenko, currently on a flying lap, 3/10 up on their lap at the moment. Number 66 BMW needs to improve about 1.3 seconds on their lap, but of course they've only just started their Nordschleife section, so they will be trying to gain those tenths as much as they can. We'll keep on board with these guys for a while. Of course, it is a team race today. Tkachenko currently taking the qualifying for the number 66 BMW and taking those corners very nicely. Yantiri is now in the P1 position. The Baller Squad Racing Lexus is in P1 at the moment. They're on a fast lap as well, but they have, of course, only just started it. They're currently 3/10 up on their lap time, so a few tenths were to be gained on the first few corners there, which is interesting to see. Of course, rest of the lap to go. We'll see if they maintain that time, but of course, they are the fastest driver out on track. No more positions to gain, but we'll keep our eye on things, and the stronger you can make your P1 position, the better. It's good to see Baller Squad Racing up in the P1 position. We've seen these guys quite a bit in ACM racing, so of course, always good to see a regular doing well. Another driver who is out on a lap, Nathan Cartwright, number 627 Mustang. We were on board with them earlier. They're only about 1/10 of a second up on their lap time at the moment, but that would potentially improve their lap into P9. They're only about 2/10 back from P9 at the moment, so of course one more tenth, about half of the lap left to gain that tenth. It's easily doable, providing they keep it safe around Nordschleife. It's so fast throughout these corners. You've got to be so sure in the car, so sure in your performance, but Nathan Cartwright has no issue in doing so. Approaching that carousel now, one of the Nordschleife's most famous corners. It's a left-hander that's banked. Of course, if you stand in the middle, the cars come all around the outside of it. You can see Nathan Cartwright going around the carousel now, exiting at the end, sticking to the right hand side of the curb there, trying not to lose too much time. They're about 5/10 up on their lap at the moment, of course, putting them into provisional P9. But of course, we will have to see how the rest of the lap plays out. A fast left and a right hander here before the braking zone into a tighter right hander. You've got to be careful of the curb on the outside there. You don't take too much. It can unsettle that apex, as you saw there from Nathan Cartwright. Keeping it smooth down in through this section. It's a fast and tight section. You have to be very confident in the car to go through here. Clipping the apex on the left hand side, clipping the apex on the right, not using too much of the exit curb like the BMW did in front. Unfortunately, they seem to have slowed down in an unfortunate position for Nathan there, but not too much time was lost. Keeping it tight to the left hand side now before drifting over to the left hand side, sticking to that apex and using as much of the exit curb as possible before they hit another right hander before the second sector of the Nordschleife is up. They come through these corners, not using too much of the curb on the right hand side. This is another famous section here. It's known as the jump. The cars come over this bit here, getting a bit of airtime before braking. Of course, excellent for photos. And of course, stick to the right hand side, then to the left, out onto the right again, not using too much of the curb, sticking to the left. Another bit where you gain a bit of airtime on the front there, especially. Very fast section here, no braking at all. Left-hander, right-hander, left-hander. And of course, then into a mini carousel in just a second now. Going through these corners, not too much curb taken through here. Again, it's another curb that's quite high. You have to be careful with how much you're taking. Here we are, the mini carousel. Another great spot for photos here at Nordschleife. Banked left-hander, and we are out on to the Dottinger Straight at the moment. So Nathan Cartwright currently 1/10 up on his lap, about equal with their previous lap. Of course, needs to improve by at least 2/10 to get themselves into P9. Of course, their P10 position was taken by Gazov in the previous few minutes, but they will be needing to improve just 0.002 of a second to take that. Of course, easily doable, I say. We'll see what they do as they come through the Dottinger Straight. Cars absolute maxed out as they can be. Of course, this is a favourite overtaking spot for most drivers. You can get in the slipstream, gain that extra additional few kilometres of an hour, make a move down the straight, and it's probably one of the safest places to do it here at Nordschleife. Coming through the final corners, braking just before they hit the left-hander kink, taking the curb on the right-hand side to hook the car in, using as much of the circuit here as they can, extending out right to the barrier, sticking across the left, reducing the amount of space that they have to cover, crossing the line, and sticks themselves just into P10, about 1/10 back from Espinosa as it stands. Of course, very fast lap time there from Nathan Cartwright. A very good result to put themselves into P10 position, very close between P9 and P11 as well, so it could be a good race that develops between those. We'll go back on board with Ivanik. They're currently about halfway through their lap, of course, on a fast lap now as well, so we'll be seeing what they can do throughout the rest of this lap. Lexus is an older car in Seto Corsa, but it's one which is very fast on the straight, so especially here at Nordschleife on that Dottinger Straight, you can gain so much time on other vehicles with those extra couple kilometres an hour, which is why most people, or some people, prefer the Lexus here. Of course, on the downforce it is weaker, but get the setup right and you can make it work for yourself. Ivanik, of course, one of those drivers who has done so, and we were just on board as well with Yantiri a few minutes ago there in a Lexus for the Baller Squad Racing, number 276 as well. So we'll be seeing how these Lexuses perform. The Ferrari in P2, of course, the first modern car which we have on the grid today, but we do have some other cars on the grid with us. We've got a Lamborghini inside of that Mustang there. We'll have to see that throughout the race, but of course there is a Writer on the grid today, which is one which is barely ever seen in the game. One of the oldest cars in the game, one of the hardest to drive, so of course you can see it sort of merge with that Ferrari there. We'll keep our eye on it throughout the race and of course make the most of it being out on track. Of course, one of the rare cars to see, harder to drive, so not seen too much. Ivanik making a bit of a mistake there through that section, losing out on a few tenths, but managing to stick tight to these corners and not lose too much more. They're pushing it to the absolute limit that they can at the moment. Of course, they have 1.4 seconds to gain until P1, 1 second until P2, so quite a bit of time to gain. They need to keep it straight and clean. Ivanik doing very well though at the moment, a little bit too wide on that corner, touching a little bit of the grass, not too much of a problem. They're about 1/10 down on their lap at the moment, of course using as much of the exit curb as they can. And unfortunately making a mistake there, going too wide on the exit, touching the grass, spinning the car around, and that will be the qualifying session over for Ivanik. 1.4 seconds down from P1, but of course starting in P3. Strong position here at the Nordschleife. They'll be fighting for those top positions towards the end of the first lap. There it guys. One of the final drivers to come through and finish their lap time. So currently on a flying lap at the moment, 2.3 seconds up on their lap time, which is actually enough to put them into P1. P1, of course, also on a fast lap as well, though 1 second up on their lap time. So of course, it will be a battle of who can come across the line with the most time up between Thierry and Yantiri. Thierry, as I said, 2.5 seconds at the moment out onto the Nottingham. Not too much time to be gained or lost here. Of course, the slipstream would be of benefit, but no cars are in front to benefit Thierry at the moment. 2.4 seconds. We'll see how it ends up towards the end of the Dottinger. We'll go on board with Yantieri as well. They're about to cross the start-finish straight. They're about 8/10 up on their lap at the moment, coming through the final few corners, exiting the lap, using as much of the track as they can there. Coming across the line, they will improve their lap by 7/10 of a second. That will improve to a 7:807.7, so a very fast lap time, 1 second faster than P2. So the Ball Squad Racing doing very well there. We'll keep our eye on Guyers though. About to come across the line, 2.7 seconds improvement. Potentially going to be a P1, potentially P2. Come across the line and they place it in P2, missing out by just 1/10 of a second there. So very close at the end of that qualifying session there. Fantastic to see from these drivers, of course, and one which will develop into this race. As we do head over into the formation lap though, I will just be back on the stream in a second, and we will be ready for the start of the race. Right, apologies for that short delay in cover there. We've got 1 minute left of the pre-race wait time before we set off for the formation lap. You can see on your screens just the sheer number of cars which we have on grid today. As I mentioned, 73, 74 cars on the field. We'll do a quick run through at the moment, see what cars and liveries we have on the grid. Of course, starting out with the Ball Squad Racing Lexus, followed by the Ferrari of Gyres, just coming across the line there in those final few seconds, taking that P2 position, missing out slightly on that P1 position by just 1/10, but of course very fast lap time to be set, and of course 6 hours are remaining of this race, plenty of time to set another fast lap. Ferrari follows up in P3, followed by another Lexus in P4. The two VDES cars there, P4 and P5. Ivanik and Tkachenko will be fighting each other for the podium positions in today's race. A Lamborghini takes the P6 position. That's Petrosian in the Lamborghini. Another Lexus in P7, Schwander there, Lexus in P8 and P9 as well, Regmont and Sotskov in those cars. We see an Audi in P10, another rare car to see out on the grid. I believe we only have one Audi out on grid today as well, so it's good to see. Mustang there on the right hand side. Another McLaren as these cars are pulling away. It's going to be quite hard to see, but you can see just how many cars are pulling through the formation lap now. It's going to be quite a hectic turn one, hopefully a clean turn one. We will see how that pans out. Of course, we are towards the rear of the grid now. You can see on the track map on the right hand side, so many cars coming through and doing their formation lap. So many cars which will be heading in towards turn one at the start of this race. We'll jump back on board with Yantiri. We'll get a wing view for this formation lap, and they'll be coming across the line, ready to start the race in just a moment. Of course, if you are on board with the stream today and you would like us to watch over a specific car or a specific driver, let us know. We can switch to it. Of course, I will be covering the commentary for about the first hour or so of this race. Of course, if you want me to switch to anyone, talk about anything, answer any questions, please feel free. It'll keep me entertained, keep you entertained, and keep the stream going. Alright, so we're side by side. We are ready for the 6 hours of Nordschleife to go underway. You can see there the cars filtering out of the Nordschleife lap, coming across the line, ready for the formation lap. We'll be seeing the green lights very, very soon. Green lights, there we go. The cars are racing. We're down towards turn 1. Lexus pulls away, tries to cover off that Ferrari on the inside line. We'll jump on board with the wing of the Lexus here and see what they can do in towards turn 1. Hopefully, no massive collisions. Of course, 70 cars on grid, but it's going to be tight and clean into turn 1. The Lexus has pulled away there, keeping it very clean towards the start of this race. The Ferrari is holding off on the P2 position, I believe, followed by a Lexus in P3 though. Looks to be clean so far. This Lexus has a 1 second gap on the P2 position. P2 pulling away from those behind as well. It looks like there's a battle for P3 and P4, which we are seeing. It seems like lap 1, turn 1 as well was clean. So a little bit of yellow flag on the first few corners, but it seems like for the majority of the part it has been kept clean, which of course is good to see here at the Nordschleife. As the timing board that I see is just catching up with itself. We'll jump on board with the current P6, P7 position. Dmitry Tkachenko has unfortunately lost out on that position to the Lamborghini in front, but is looking to fight for it back on the rest of this first lap. Looking to the outside, looking to the inside, staying behind though. The Lexus filters in behind, the BMW filters in behind the Lamborghini. You can see the Lexus of the VDES teammate in front. That Lamborghini has had a fantastic start. Artur Petrosian, another VDES Postal driver there, in the number 63 Lamborghini. Up front then, Yansiri has taken the lead of this race. Of course, started in P1, maintained that P1, had a very good start of this race, managed to gain those seconds throughout the first corner. The Ferrari behind got caught up in a little bit of a battle throughout the next few corners, so Yansiri was able to pull away from them. Of course, you can see the grid filtering through now. What position is 151? 151 did start the race in, let me just find them. They are currently in P57, started the race in P51, so did drop a few positions since the start of this race, but the B Motorsports, Alessandro Mallorca, number 151 BMW, in a strong position, still plenty of positions to gain, so we'll keep our eye on things and see where they end up. Alberto Prina, of course, we saw them starting in the front row positions, has dropped a few since the start of this race, so unfortunately has been caught up in a few incidents or so, but hopefully they will manage to gain back those positions. Jump on board as well. There's a bit of pressure from the VDES Lexus behind, just millimeters between those cars. We'll jump on board with the Helicam to see what they are doing in towards the middle of the Nordschleife. It's going to be side by side throughout a very fast left-hander here. Seems like the BMW has done the smart thing and backed out. That Lexus has gone around the outside of that one there. And you can see that the Ferrari has just decided to take the smart decision, filter in behind the Lexus. Of course, first lap of a 6-hour race, you don't want to take big risks, you don't want to make big moves. You've got plenty of time to gain those positions, plenty of mistakes that are yet to happen, so just keeping it calm and keeping it sensible, of course, is the best thing to do. It's position gained for that Lexus though. That promotes Ivanik into P3. Of course, you can see Jayas in front in P2, following behind the other Lexus of the Ball Squad Racing, number 276, who is out in P1 at the moment. Some other action which is happening. Marcin Sivor is having a little bit of a fight behind. Another Lexus is close behind. That's Trubert, the JB Lexus, the number 4 Lexus just behind them, looking for the position change into P23. You can see Trubert all over the rear of that other Lexus there, but also having to look on their rear mirror as well, defend from the Over Limit Racing Ferrari there. Over Limit Racing team did of course win the 2025 NLS Endurance Series, so they are looking to gain as many points as they can as well in today's race. Further up front, Bohanedin is looking for a position gain on the Lexus. Espinosa in front is trying to defend that position as best they can. Of course, rare to see an Audi on grid. We've just got one on the grid today, but lovely to see nevertheless. Adine is looking to put some pressure on there, potentially try and force a mistake out of that Audi, and of course gain a position out of it. Nothing so far, but we'll keep our own things to see what happens. The front of the grid is certainly starting to spread out though. Ivanik currently has 1.2 seconds back from the P2 position, Jayas, and Jayas is of course 1.5 seconds back from the Bola Squad Racing Yantiri as well, so certainly looking to be spreading out there. Being a yellow flag further down the grid, car number 717 seems to have had an incident or so, but they have got back into racing, so hopefully all is okay there. And unfortunately a Nissan in the middle of the track, that might potentially cause some further issues down the grid. But we'll jump forward on to Skull, who is looking to get some slipstream off of the Ferrari Petruccia in front. Dark Skull for the VDES Portal number 404 is chasing behind this Ferrari, trying to keep as much slipstream as they can, keeping it tight to that fast left-hander, using as much of the exit curb as they can, only just slightly tapping the wall there, not too much of a problem, and of course sticking to the right hand side of the track for that right-hander, and unfortunately losing out on a few tenths from that position there. The over limit racing, Yannick Michler though is in P26 at the moment, looking for the fight into P25. Lexus in front, the number 4 Lexus for Trubert is defending that position. They're both going through, of course, the carousel at the moment. Certainly some gaps starting to spread out. It seems like there's some side-by-side action there. We're blocked by the trees in game there, but that was a BMW up the inside of the over limit racing, number 991 there. BMW did successfully make that position gain. So we'll be seeing what else they can do. Up the inside as well goes the number 95 Ferrari, taking advantage of the over limit racing's off-line position, and of course the Lamborghini as well going for the move there as well. The over limit racing Yannick Michler just needs to take a step back, relax, and get themselves back in the game, gain those positions back, and maintain their P30 position. We are heading towards the final few corners of the first lap now. Of course, you can see on the right hand side of your screens, a few yellow flags have occurred, a few cars have returned to the pit lane, but nothing too major so far, which is good. A little bit of action in front there. You can see the Lamborghini putting pressure on that number 95 car. A little bit of a smidge to bump them wider. Unfortunately, a little bit of contact into the braking zone there as well. Yannick Michelin may potentially get a penalty for that. We'll see how they come in. Petruccia, number 95 Ferrari, though, does have a penalty. You can see on the left hand side of your screen, the 5-second penalty for Petruccia, 10-second penalty for Massion Sik in the number 689 Ferrari. We'll keep our eye on some other penalties which do come through. We'll jump back on board with Maurice Schwander though. They're in a little bit of a train of cars at the moment, of course, advancing towards the Dottinger Straight. The Lexus will have the advantage here, and of course with that slipstream we'll have certainly a few more kilometers an hour than those in front. It's going to be Lexus versus Lexus first though. Pulls out to the right hand side into the clean air. That will slow them down slightly. They'll get the side draft from the number 26 Lexus though. Filters in a little bit behind just to try and pick up the slipstream instead though. You can see it's single file down the straight. Lexus gaining that speed though. Pulls out to the left hand side this time. But again, just hitting that brick of air, not able to gain anything. And we'll jump on board with the number 26 Lexus instead, who has gained significantly on the Lamborghini there. Goes around the outside of the number 63 Lamborghini, looks towards the number 28 car as well. It's going to be an outside position for that, but unfortunately isn't able to make it work. Again, a smart decision to be made. You don't want to go side by side through these corners. It is very tight, but that Lamborghini did unfortunately lose that position to Regmont there. Regmont going around the outside on the straight, making the most of the Lexus's straight line speed. Just look at the amount of cars on the right hand side of the map. It's a train of cars down the Dottinger, and of course that is lap 1 finished for the majority of people now. So of course we are on to lap 2 of this 6-hour race. As mentioned, there's a 4 times time multiplier active on today's race, so we will be seeing a bit of night time as well as sunrise, sunset, etc. These drivers will be swapping out doing their team pit stops throughout the race as well. There is a 65-minute stint timer active on today's race, so we'll be seeing drivers come in about 50 minutes or so. Of course, with 8-minute lap times, you do have to be careful of that 65-minute stint timer. If you set 8-minute lap times, you can of course do 8 laps, but most drivers decide to go with 7 laps just to play it safe. And of course we'll be seeing what they do throughout the first hour. Jumping back with some close battles then, Nicholas Way, another OLR driver, is behind the number 4 Lexus at the moment. I believe that is Trubert in front, looking for that position gain into P23, potentially over revving the car there into the braking section, but nothing too major for that Ferrari. See there, ACM NLS 23.5 winner. flexing their trophies there on that car. A little bit dropped back from the Lexus now though, unfortunately lost out a few tenths on those corners, but it has been a good start nevertheless. We'll see how they progress on with those positions. Another close battle further down the grid is Jaraput in the number 455 Ferrari, 0.3 seconds back from another Ferrari at the moment. The Ferrari of Safanov in front is defending their P34 position. Going to be a clean exit for Jaraput. And we'll see if they make any move. It's going to be quite tight into the approaching chicane, so no positions gained through there, but of course into the Nordschleife loop it will be more difficult. Later on the braking there from Safanov, managing to maintain that position as a result. Jaraput having to filter in to the rear of the Ferrari there. Unfortunately a yellow flag on the inside there hopefully doesn't cause any issues for anyone else. Some unfortunate positions to be in there for those cars. Hopefully everything is okay. It's side by side at the moment for the BMW and the Lexus. BMW just filters in behind, just taking the smart decision there. And you can see that the yellow flags have changed their position there into a less blocking manner. Good to see. Newman is approaching on the Porsche of North in front, 0.5 seconds between those two, but is of course defending from the Ferrari behind as well. Similar gap between Newman and Ferrari just behind. But it is fantastic to see that there were no major contacts in the beginning lap of this race. Of course, with 70 cars on the grid, very high chances of a major contact, but it seems like everyone got through there perfectly fine. Back up top then, Tkachenko is looking for his next position. Top score for the number 828 Lexus in front is the next target. Of course these two are teammates, so not looking to get into any contact, but are looking for a good race of course. Nothing to be changed at the moment. Both going into this double left-hander nice and smooth, using as much of the track as they can. Not many positions to or not many overtaking positions on this portion of the track, so just filtering in and keeping it consistent is the best way to progress. Of course, again in those tenths, corner by corner, will leave you with less gap to close when an overtaking position comes. Breaking down into the first tight left-hander there, going into first gear, slowing the car right down, going nose to tail through that section. Again, another tight left-hander here, braking at the orange marker on the right, using curb slightly on the right hand side, sticking to the left again, then darting to the right to get the apex, not using too much of the exit curb. Both cars keeping it clean through there. Tkachenko just filtering through behind his teammates at the moment, not trying to cause too much danger for their cars. Of course 6 hours do remain of this race, so plenty of time to make battles happen, make positions gained. That gap has certainly spread out now though. We'll jump on board with Schwander, who is on the rear of the Lamborghini of Petrosian in front. No positions I don't think can be gained through here. It's going to be quite tight if they want to try and go for it, but Schwander is certainly all over the rear of that Lamborghini, looking for every little gap that exists. They're going to be floating through this corner side by side though, both using as much of that exit curb as possible, then darting to the left hand side of the track before hitting the right hand side, not using the curb on the exit again, braking at the start of the curb there, keeping it tight to the right hand side. The Lexus, who we are on board with, has had a better corner through there. Nothing too significant though. They're going to be side by side, going to be front to tail, nose to tail through the carousel as well. Going out the carousel, same positions as always. Can't make positions here on the Nordschleife. The Dottinger Straight is going to be a good spot for Schwander to put some pressure on. Of course the Lexus will make the most of the straight line speed through there. Good to see a Lamborghini in so high of a position as well. A little bit unsteady on the exit of that corner. Unfortunately ended up losing out. You can see the Lamborghini going out towards the end of the circuit there. Managing to keep it on the track though, managing to keep it going. Unfortunately losing out a few positions in the process. But of course that pressure did see a mistake being made. Similarly, a BMW there just spinning out. I believe that was the BMW of Tkachenko making that little mistake there. A little bit slidey on that number 66 BMW, but they've got back racing as well, so they will be continuing their charge. Zimmerman has therefore been promoted a few positions into P11, the Overlimit Motorsports, Overlimit Racing. Ferrari is trying to get as much as they can out of Tukachenko. Alberto Prino has caught back up with the Lexus of Ivanik in front, of course looking to put some pressure on, gain back to that podium position that they were in. Prino, of course, started in P3, down in P4 at the moment, did lose that position to Ivanik, who started in P4, now in P3, so of course we'll be trying to fight and have that position back. It seems like there is a blue flag in front of Ivanik at the moment, potentially slowing down Ivanik. That blue flag should hopefully give way. There we see go out to the exit of the corner, a little bit tight there between those two cars, but thankfully no contact was made. A little bit of a delay there for Alberto Prina. A few tenths were dropped back from the Lexus in front there, but nothing major. As I said, that blue flag will have a lot of giving way to do, but we'll be able to do it throughout the Dottinger Straight, I have no doubt. Back on board with Batescu, they're just behind the Overlimit Racing Ferrari of Zimmerman at the moment, 0.6 seconds between these two cars. Of course, both in Ferrari, so nothing too major to gain down this Dottinger Straight. And further down on the field as well, we have Prenkovskis looking to gain that slipstream, filtering in behind the Audi, gaining as much time as they can on the straights. Just 1 kilometre an hour. More matters so much down this straight. You see the BMW gaining on that Audi. Is it going to be enough for an overtake? I think it will be. Pulling out into that air, going to be dropping a few kilometres an hour now, but getting the side draft from that Ferrari. We'll jump on board to the helicam as they come underneath the bridge side by side into these corners. That Audi might potentially have to back out. Yep, it does so on the outside there, braking a bit more, and that is a position gain for Prenkovskis. A very nice overtake there on the end of the Dottinger. Need to keep that going throughout the rest of the race. Vilnius Tech Racing up into P13 as it stands at the moment. A very strong position for them to be in. 2.6 seconds to Batescu in front. So of course, with this battle developing, might potentially be another position to regain. They see Batescu making the position attempt up the inside, and a little bit of contact there with the Overlimit Racing Ferrari. Needs to rejoin safely. Didn't hold the brakes there. Trying to rejoin, trying to find a gap. They're in the middle of the track there though, but thankfully have got out of the way now. Did disrupt quite a few cars there, nothing too major, but yeah, it was interesting to see. Of course, stewards will be looking at that. We've got 5 seconds for Regmont in front of Schwander, 5 seconds for Gazov as well. Nothing more on the left hand side of our screens as it stands at the moment. That's the second lap of the race completed now though. 20 minutes of this race has been and gone. Many positions have changed. The biggest position gainer of this race so far, of course, is Ryan Cheshire. Starting in P42, now down in P14, gaining as many places as possible. The teammate of Maxime Coschiera did qualify for Ryan, so Ryan making most of that position, trying to gain as many positions throughout as he can. Number 343 Mustang, one of the fastest drivers out on the grid today, so we'll be seeing what they can do in their car. But of course, he is the one with the most positions gained at the moment. There is Blowbaum also taking 28 positions gained in his Ferrari number 123 car, starting in P61, up in P33 at the moment, so plenty of positions have been gained so far. Zhukov, another high position gainer, number 222 McLaren there, gaining 25 positions since their P63 starting position. Jan Straka in the number 864 Lexus, very nice livery on that Vin Motorsports Lexus there. They've gained 28 positions in this race so far. Starting P68, up in P40 at the moment, plenty more positions to go, but of course plenty of time to make those positions. So yeah, plenty of overtakes have happened so far, plenty more overtakes to come. Ryan Cheshire just made another overtake just a second ago. He's looking for another overtake on the Audi now as well, putting on pressure to try and make the gap visible. Better exit for that Lexus out of this corner. I don't think there'll be a position opportunity down this straight. They're looking to the outside throughout this section. He's going to have to back out, which he does so. He can't go through side by side in this corner, but he can get the slipstream down this straight. Potentially look at the outside of this corner here for a position gain. We'll jump to the helicam. You can see the Lexus, the Mustang, sorry, on the outside. Now it is a drag race down towards the end of this straight. It's going to be a fast left-hander that Audi might potentially have to back out of that position. It's going to be a slight contact there between those cars, but Ryan manages to hold on to that car. It's going to be quite panicky in that Mustang, I have no doubt about. It's going to be side by side again as they go down towards the curves. Side by side, these cars are going to have to lift off at some point. It's going to be a tight corner at the top of this hill here. You can see Audi behind, losing out to that BMW as well, but as the position gained for Ryan Cheshire, going side by side throughout that entire downhill section, Audi unfortunately losing out a few positions as a result of that, but Ryan Cheshire now up into P12 as it stands. Very good driving from Ryan. It'll be interesting to see how he can maintain that. Of course, 12 positions to go until P1, but of course there are quite a few seconds in there. On the track map on the right hand side, the number 276, the triangle that's on there is the P1 position. Ryan Cheshire, the one highlighted in red, has plenty of track distance to cover, but I have no doubt that that will be done throughout the rest of this 6 hours. Maurice Schwander, 0.3 seconds back from Regmont at the moment. Regmont does of course have a 5-second penalty, but that doesn't matter until the pit stops happen. So Schwander looking to put on that pressure, gain that position into P5 before the pit stop as an alternative. Not too much pressure being put on at the moment. Of course, don't need to go for the silly overtakes, the silly manoeuvres this early into the race, but of course looking for as much opportunity as they can. 0.4 seconds between these guys. There is 0.7 seconds between P4 and P3 as well. Prina is of course looking to put some pressure onto Ivanik. We saw Prina losing out a little bit to a blue flag on the last lap, but has gained that time back now. You can see Ivanik in the Lexus in front, trying to maintain their consistency throughout the straight here. A fast left-hander for both cars here, not doing too much unnecessary there, managing to stay off the barrier and keep it clean throughout this section as well. Prina 0.8 seconds still between these two cars, looking to gain as much tenths as he can. Schwander will go back on board with those. There's 0.3 seconds between these two Lexuses now at the moment. We saw on the previous lap, wasn't able to gain any on the straight, so I think the Lexus in front must be running a lower wing compared to Schwander. Of course, very different setups these drivers will be running. Everyone tailors it to themselves, and of course if they are racing as a team, they'll tailor it to the team. Of course, it is 3:45 PM in the game at the moment. Around about 8 PM the race will start being sunset. In about 2 hours or so, these drivers will be needing to turn on their lights, get ready for the night stints. A little bit unsteady there on the exit from Schwander there. Still maintaining the following position from the Lexus in front. A few tenths have dropped since last time. 5 tenths exist now, but still keeping that consistent, trying to gain as many tenths through these corners as possible. Clean through those corners, not using too much of the curb. Going across the jump now though. The Lexus taking plenty of airtime over there. Keeping it tight to these corners as well. And the slipstream down this section here, lifting up the nose there as they go over the top of the hill. Getting it on track though. Heading in towards the mini carousel now, both braking just after the escape road. Plenty of tenths gain there for Schwander. The nose to tail into this mini carousel. Both braking at a similar point, keeping it tight. Lexus in front though, going wide and out of the carousel corner there. Managing to maintain the position as it is. Gonna have to fend off from that slipstream down this Dottinger straight though. Schwander will be looking to gain as many seconds as he can down this straight. Nose to tail. We saw on the previous lap that these guys were on a similar speed nose to tail, so of course we'll need him to gain as many kilometers an hour as he can. We'll go into the helicam for this. They are side by side at the moment. Lexus is still gaining ever so slightly on the outside there. and that position looks like it has been gained before they hit the corner. So Schwander promotes themselves up into P5, Regmont drop back into P6. Of course, still has 5.5 hours left of this race though, so a good overtake there from Schwander, making the most of the straight line speed and the slipstream given from the car in front. Gaining that P5 position, now got 4 seconds to chase to the car in front. Jerry Gyers, the P2 number 275 Ferrari, 3 seconds back from P1 at the moment. Ball Squad Racing Jan Thierry is doing very well in that Lexus up front. You can see just coming out of the first corner there. Jump on board with Alberto Prino at the moment, of course following behind Ivanik for their P3 position. These two swap positions at the start of the race. Alberto is looking to make that swap again, Ivanik looking to defend that P3 position. About half an hour or so, pit stops will be starting to happen in what these drivers can pull off. Both taking a similar line through that corner there. Lexus taking a wide line, getting a better exit than the Ferrari. See if there's any lifting through this corner though. There is on that race trim Ferrari. Plenty of time gained through there though. Seems like the Lexus needed to lift off the throttle a little bit more. Both braking at a similar point into the left-hander there though. Ivanik is having to take ultra-in lines here to defend this position. Maintaining it as it stands at the moment though. Going to be a slipstream down towards the chicane. Braking just after the 100 metre board. Taking as much of the apex curb as they can. No position change as they head into the Nordschleife then. Going to be Prina still putting pressure on that Lexus, putting pressure on for a mistake, looking to get that P3 position back. And there is only 2.5 seconds in front as well to Thierry Gyers. You see the BMW just in front of Ivanik is a blue flag, but the car just in front of them is of course 4th position. So Ivanik will be looking to gain that time, well defending from Prina behind. That's unfortunate to see there. Blue flag stopping on the exit of the corner. And Prina has lost out significantly as a result of that. Stewards will of course be looking at that. A lot of damage for that Ferrari though. The bonnet is of course lifting up, so Prina is going to have to put in some hard work during the rest of the stints to put that car back into racing condition. Needs to get back a hold of the car now though, and hopefully get back on things. Ivanik, a lot of stress relieved now though for that car. 2.8 seconds to gain in front, and of course 6 seconds gap is behind, so nothing to worry about at the moment. We'll go on board with Sotskov instead. Sotskov is of course approaching Regmont in front, looking for that position to be taken. Of course, if you are watching and you're part of the team, or you want us to watch a specific team, let me know. I can swap over to their car, commentate a bit over this car. Of course, with 70 cars on the grid today, it's going to be quite difficult for me to cover everyone, but I will try my best to do so. Seems like Ryan has promoted themselves into P10. Position was gained on Felix Zimmerman. I think it's the braking zone of that right-hander there. So that will be 32 positions gained for Ryan since the start of this race. Yeah, Ryan making another position gain on Prina there. Prina, of course, having the damaged Ferrari from their incident with the blue flag. Of course, having to cede those positions, potentially have a pit stop at the end of this lap. So much damage on the front of that Ferrari. It was a very unfortunate incident with the blue flag there. Of course, as I said, stewards will be looking at it. Penalties will be rewarded, but it's unfortunate to see from Prina. Hopefully they can get the car back in shape, get themselves back up into the top 10 positions, and get themselves into a good finishing spot as well. Trozian now putting pressure on his teammate Tkachenko. Lamborghini here looking for as much time as possible. little bit of steady on the exit of that corner there, a little bit of a twitch, nothing too major though. Same from the BMW in front. I think these guys are running probably on traction control 0, so of course having to be careful with that throttle. Half an hour of this race has gone through already. We have had so far, I believe, 76 incidents. Stewards are slowly making their way through those incidents. Nothing too major, too significant though, which is good to see. Hopefully that maintains throughout the rest of this race, of course. Ryan Cheshire is now looking for his next position on Artur Petrosian. Oh, it's unfortunate to see there. Petrosian was looking for a position gain on Tkachenko, but unfortunately was taken out by Ryan Cheshire there. Stewards, of course, once again will be looking at that. I'm sure these two will have discourse after the race as well. They do know each other quite well. They have discussed quite a bit, so I'm sure there will be a few arguments backwards and forwards. Hopefully nothing too too mean said to either driver, but that will be looked at by the stewards either way. Ryan Cheshire up into P8 now. Petrosian just getting a grip back of that car. Potentially a bit too much damage to carry on though. Full left lock and having to stick to the right side of the track. So could be a return to the garage there from the Lamborghini, which is unfortunate to see. They were doing very well in that Lamborghini up in the top positions. Thierry Gyers unfortunately had an incident there as well throughout the left-hander. Rejoining now, hopefully without issue. They're dropping themselves down into P6. That's giving Jan Thierry up front a little more breathing space to give, and Gyers unfortunately spinning round and pirouetting there a few more times, touching grass on the exit of that corner, and unfortunately just leaving the race as it is, which is of course unfortunate to see, but Nordschleife is brutal and can have incidents like that. Jan Thierry, as I said though, sitting back, feet up, relaxing in P1 at the moment. They've got 6 seconds gain advantage on Ivanik. Of course, Ivanik has 6 seconds on Schwander behind as well, so those positions certainly are widening up front. Andrea Petescu is looking for a position gain on Tom Morris-Jones at the moment. Tom Morris-Jones, one of the close friends of Ryan Cheshire, so they're both in the Mustang. No position able to be gained there though. Tom Morris-Jones did go a little bit wide on that previous corner, allowing Andre to take advantage of that, but nothing came too much from it. Just maintaining that distance, looking for potentially a position down the dot and go. The Mustang, of course, is very good in a straight line. Ferrari, not so much, but it is very slim. It does have the advantage of aero. We'll be seeing what they can gain from the slipstream here. They take the right-hander and enter onto the Dossinger. It's going to be nose to tail. Wide on the exit there from Tom Morris-Jones. Lucky they managed to keep that facing straight forward, but it's going to be a lot of kilometers an hour advantage towards Andrea Petescu there. You can see just slowly crawling up towards that Mustang. That gap is decreasing. They'll be looking probably to the inside or even potentially the outside of this Mustang here. Mustang taking in the middle of the circuit. The inside line has been taken there and it is side by side throughout this corner. It seems like that Ferrari Petescu will make that position gain on Morris-Jones. Morris-Jones having to back out to not go side by side through that corner. Of course, Morris-Jones will be looking for as much advantage as he can to get that place back. Mustang, of course, good in a straight line. It is a Lexus 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 at the moment. Of course, the other Ferraris and stuff which were in top positions have unfortunately crashed out or been in incidents. We saw Thierry Gyers, who had a very good qualifying lap, unfortunately make a mistake in the Nordschleife loop, having to leave the race there though. Fortunate to see, but it is Lexus leads Lexus leads Lexus and so on. We've got a Mustang in P6. I have a feeling Ryan Cheshire will be looking to break up that Lexus chain, of course, followed by a BMW of Tkachenko, then Zimmerman, and then Garcia in another BMW. Brent Koskis rules out the top 10. Number 117 BMW there, only 1.4 seconds back from the P9 position of Garcia. So potentially a position brewing between those two. In a position change between Pavlovitz in the number 36 Mustang as well. Gazoff, the McLaren in front, did gain that position in the previous corner. You can see a bit of damage on this Mustang as well. There's some front end bodywork damage on that Mustang, so hopefully nothing too major that's disrupting their race, but of course we'll keep our eye on it. Tom Morris-Jones, of course, looking to gain back that position he lost in the Dottinger Straight. That Ferrari in front, gaining from that slipstream. Tom Morris-Jones will be looking to gain as much as he can throughout the Nordschleife now, and then do the same that Petescu did to him. Closing gap as well is Zimmerman and Tkachenko. Zimmerman, of course, 2 seconds back from Tkachenko. Tkachenko, you can see in front in P7 at the moment. 2.3 seconds exist between these guys. That gap is slowly closing. We'll potentially see something towards the end of this lap. Further back down the field, we have some position changes and some battles for position. Julien Victor in the JB Motorsport Ferrari is only 0.6 seconds back from Castellin in front. Another Ferrari there, trying to gain as much as he can. Julien has unfortunately lost quite a few positions since the start of this race. Started in P16, currently in P61, so did lose out about 45 positions to start this race, which is unfortunate to see, but of course 5 hours remain of this race, plenty of time to gain. Further up front as well, Jasper Ten Hacken was looking for a position, did unfortunately lose out on a bit of time there after being unsteady. About 1 second back from the number 455 in front though. For a Kanchikong is also 1 second back from Kuj in front. And then in front as well, we've got a three-way battle for P30. Ivanov leads Gusev, leads Raymond. Porsche versus Lexus versus Aston Martin. And then just in front of them as well as a battle for P28. Oscar Masionchik is just behind the McLaren in front, looking up the inside there, putting some pressure on as they go in towards this section of corners here. Nothing gained so far. There's going to be a left-hander, or a very tight left-hander for both of them, taking the curb there from Oscar and potentially losing out a little bit of time there, but it's going to be front to back for the McLaren Ferrari duo. That gap is certainly closing now, 0.2 seconds, getting us steady on those curbs though, so losing out a significant amount of time across that curb there, Oscar did. He's going to try and gain it back though, 0.4 seconds between these two, so still potential opportunity there. Just missing out on the curb there as well. Keeping it tight to this right hand side. Putting some pressure on, looking to the inside of the McLaren. Braking hard into that corner. Nothing to be changed there. There's a three-way battle for P21 at the moment. Blowbaum is following Picano, who is following Petruccia, sorry. Petruccia defending from Picano. Picano looking up the inside. Seems like that position was ceded there though. Bit of brakes from Patricia, taking the smart decision not to go side by side through there. You can see the Aston Martin flicking the lights, saying thank you as well. 45 positions gained from Picano since the start of this race. A massive position gainer since the start of this race. Starting in P66, of course, wanting to do a last to first, has made their way up into P22 at the moment. So plenty of positions gained. Ryan Cheshire, another one who's gained a lot of positions, 36 since the start of this race, is in P6 at the moment, 0.4 seconds to Sotskov in front, has gained the position from Lukashenko. Keeping it nose to tail through here though. Trying to gain as much time, taking a wider entry to that corner there, gaining so much time on that Lexus. Using a similar amount of exit curb, keeping it tight into the mini carousel though. Both coming out. Again, nose to tail. It's going to be a battle of who can go fastest. Of course, Lexus is a fast car here on ACC. Mustang as well though is quite fast and will take advantage of that slipstream as well. Going to be following behind that Lexus, gaining those kilometers an hour slowly but surely. That gap is slowly diminishing. Pushing this car to its absolute limit. You can see it, you can hear the engine just struggling to get some air into it. Look to the inside from Ryan. Nothing that's going to be able to be gained on that though. A bit of a lift off into this corner though. Taking a wider line once again compared to the Lexus, gaining so many tenths of a second on exit there though. Looking to the inside as they head out onto the straight. Could be side by side down into turn 1. Board into this camera here, as you can see both cars crossing the start finish straight. That Lexus pulling away slightly on the straight. Mustang pulling to the inside, looking to gain from the Lexus. Going to be side by side through the first 2 corners. Nothing to be gained there though. Tries to switch back, does Ryan. Again though, that Lexus defends well, manages to maintain their P5 position. Ryan is going to have to fight another few corners for that position. Just behind the Lexus now. Lexus wider on apex there, but will have the advantage of acceleration throughout the straight, of course. Ryan Cheshire trying to gain as much as he can down into the loop. Braking later than the Lexus. Following behind the Lexus going wider, potentially going to open the door for Ryan there, taking the inside, having to back out a little bit to keep it safe. Both going through the Schumacher S's. Both keeping it clean through there as well. No position change at the moment for these two. And of course, Ryan Cheshire looking to gain as many as he can throughout this race. Started, of course, in P42, up in P6 at the moment. 6 more positions to be gained until P1, but he does have about 30 seconds or so gap. 5 hours remaining of the race. I have no doubt Ryan has the pace to do it. We'll be seeing how it develops. In a little bit of time there as the Lexus was unsteady into the entrance to that corner, keeping it tight to the apex there, not touching the curbs. They enter the Nordschleife. So much time was able to be gained there by Ryan. Looking up the inside into this corner, it's very tight between those two. Lexus having to back out potentially there not to cause contact, and that is Ryan Cheshire forcibly up into P5. Very nice overtake there from Ryan, taking the risk, going up the inside, making that position stick, and of course no danger caused. So very nice job there from Ryan. We're looking forward to see what else he can do. Up into P5 at the moment, top 5. He has separated that Lexus chain that was going on. So we'll be seeing what else he can do to the Lexus group. He's got 8 seconds to catch up to Regmont in front. Of course, Regmont does have a 10-second penalty outstanding, but of course there is about 15 minutes or so until pit stops begin to happen. Further down the field, Nicholas Way following on behind the Porsche of Ivanov, number 3 or 4 Porsche there, looking to defend the P29 position. Nicholas Way is 0.4 seconds back from Ivanov at the moment. As they enter the Nordschleife now. Much tighter line from Nicholas Way. Looking for the inside into this corner as well. It's going to keep it very tight to the inside there. Side by side, going to have an unfortunate slower exit on the inside there. They're the Porsche able to make the most of that and maintain their P29 position. A grass touch in there from both vehicles, nothing major though. And blocked by the trees there. Interesting to see how this battle develops though. We're going to have to do something similar to what Ryan did and just go for a dive down the inside, causing no contact. Nicholas Way putting pressure on that Porsche. We're trying to get a cleaner exit out of here. Does unfortunately took the curve slightly wrong there on the exit. That gives the Porsche the advantage throughout this straight. Of course, the Porsche has previously lost the position to Clerken in front on that McLaren, so he's looking to get that back as well. You see the effect of the slipstream though, that Ferrari is gaining ground and fast as they approach the fast left-hander. Going to be side by side for the McLaren and the Porsche in front. McLaren has to back out a little bit on the outside there. Is now being overtaken by Nicholas Way as well. They both exit fairly decently. That has been Ivanov promoted into P28, Nicholas Way promoted into P29, now having to defend off from Clerken, who has dropped into P30 and is now potentially looking in his rear view mirror as well. The Aston Martin of Raymond is looking to catch up as well. Nicholas Way is back on the rear of that Porsche, though. The Porsche very unsteady through these corners here though. A little bit steady on the rear of that car. Managing to get a better exit though. Bit of grass touch in there from Nicholas. Nothing too major. Porsche maintaining that gap between them. Raymond has now caught up to that McLaren as well, so we'll be putting on some pressure to Clerken in front. Bit of grass touching from Nicholas once again. Potentially a little bit wide there from Tanner Raymond. Following behind the McLaren. Trying to keep it as consistent as possible. Looks like it's been a position change for Prentkovskis. Prentkovskis has lost that position to Trubert in front, potentially a bit of side-by-side action as well. Been a very close group of cars here though. Trubert in front is only 0.3 seconds back from Skibor, who is in front of him. And then of course you can see the Lamborghini there as well. Sotskov still within bounds of Ryan Cheshire. 1 second separates these two. Of course, we saw Cheshire making the move into the GP section of the track. Able to gain his way into P5. Still 8 seconds to P4 at the moment. Seems like Maddie Garcia has had an incident, has a lot of damage on that BMW. Trying to stay out of the way of everyone though. It has a bit of suspension damage as well on that car, which is unfortunate to see. Lovely livery on that number 456 BMW. They were of course running very well in the P10 position, but they are now down in P18, potentially going to lose some more as well. There's a lot of damage on that BMW. Keep an eye on where they come out. Garaput, who we were on board with earlier, has now caught up to Kuj in front. 0.4 seconds between these two. BMW of course will be looking to put on as much time as they can. 5 hours 10 minutes left of this race. Of course, this race is hosted by ACM Racing, acm-racing.com. If you want to check us out, we have endurance races every weekend for 6 weeks straight, followed by one break weekend, followed by another 6 weeks of endurance races every weekend. We have plenty on offer available. We have up to 5 sprint races per week on offer as well. Plenty of tracks, plenty of variants, so plenty to get involved with. We have a mini endurance on Thursday, so if you want to settle your way into endurance races just like this one, you can do 1 hour and a half to 3 hour races on a Thursday. There's some quite big grids for that one as well. We had I believe 2 hours of Bathurst 2 weeks ago, which was a full 50 cars on the grid. On this Thursday we had Brands Hatch, we had about 38 or so cars in that one as well, and then this week we have, of course, a 3 hour race. I believe that one might potentially be at Imola. Plenty to get involved with here at ACM. As I said, acm-racing.com, your place to go for ACC racing. A little bit of position change here for Maranong for the pit stop races. Just getting that position lost from Straka, who was able to gain that ever so well on the straight there, taking the most of the Lexus's straight line speed, matching in with the slipstream and just breezing past that Ferrari, able to gain at least 4 tenths as a result of that. And now looking for an approach onto Schoberg as well. Matthias Blobaum down into P1 is on the rear of Espinosa. Espinosa, of course, an Audi that we've covered quite a bit in this race. Has a bit of damage on the front of that car though, as with Blobaum, so they will be repairing it when they come into the pit lane, probably at the end of this lap. One which I promised to cover during this race was Marcus Schoberg, who is currently in the Reiter, a very rare car to see out in ACC. It's a difficult car to drive. It's got a weird gear ratio and it is a lot slower than the other cars as well, so one which is certainly rare to see, but is doing very well in P22 at the moment. Of course, Marcus Schoberg for the Ball Squad Racing car, taking that to its absolute limits and really proving that he can do whatever he wants in whatever car. So yeah, nice to see that right out there. Currently fending off from Straka behind. Straka, of course, in a Lexus, so we'll have that straight line speed advantage. But about 0.4 seconds exists between those two at the moment. We'll keep our eye on things, potentially go on board with Straka as well to see what they can pull off. Got a request, can I go on to car number 37? Yes, I can. Let me just find car 37. Car 37 is in P8 at the moment. Felix Zimmermann, the Over Limit Racing Ferrari, chasing back Tukachenko. It's a blue flag in front of him. Tukachenko is about 8 seconds up the road from Zimmermann. So plenty of time to be gained, but Zimmermann has a good gap behind. Batescu in P9 is 18 seconds back from Zimmermann, so plenty of breathing room for Zimmermann at the moment, just trying to keep it consistent throughout the rest of the race. Of course, 5 hours left of the race, no need to go for absolute stonking lap times and silly moves. You need to keep it steady, keep it consistent, and of course those positions will be gained because of that. So Felix Zimmermann doing very well at the moment, putting in a strong result for his team in that Ferrari, the current highest Ferrari on the grid, which is good to see. Marcin Sibov, the RTG race team, Lexus number 224, following behind the Skull of Lamborghini number 404. 0.6 seconds between those two drivers. Of course, there will be a little bit of time gained on this straight due to the Lexus's acceleration. Lift off throughout that left-hander there, braking just after the curb for this tight right-hander, getting ready to head down the hill into this fast section of chicanes. Fastest lap of the race currently has been claimed by Jantiri. Jantiri, who we have covered at the start of this race, is in P1 at the moment, is in P1 by 3 seconds in front of Ivanik, has an 8:11.9 on the board at the moment, is the fastest lap by quite a little bit actually. Ryan Cheshire has an 8:11.9 as well, but only 0.06 of a second slower than Jantiri's lap time, so potentially something to be keeping our eye on throughout later in the race. Of course, these drivers will be coming into the pit lane on this lap for the stint timer to be reset, so we'll be seeing some potential position change from that. Of course, those who have damage will be potentially changing or repairing their car, potentially adding on a few seconds to their pit stop. Of course, people will be swapping tyres, adding in fuel. Generally, the pit stop time for this is about 30 seconds, but of course, if you have damage, that can add to it. So potentially some positions to be swapped around as a result of that. Dark Skull has lost out on the position to Tom Morris Jones there. Tom Morris Jones gaining that position into P10. Taking a little bit of the grass on the exit, that's going to lose a lot of time to Dark Skull. Dark Skull puts that pressure back onto Tom for another mistake. Of course, Dark Skull has to keep an eye on the mirror as well, because you can see the Lexus just behind looking to gain as much as they can from it. That's Marcin Shibor looking for the P11 position. Certainly gaining there. Both braking at a similar point into the corner though. You can see Tom Morris Jones in front as well. Rear view mirror, top of your screens, you can see the Lexus behind, and of course the Mustang in front. We'll keep our eye on this throughout the straight, see who gains the most time. Of course, Dark Skull will be at a slight disadvantage on this straight. The Mustang, a fast car on the straights, the Lexus as well, a fast car on the straights, so that Lamborghini will need to be looking at the slipstream as much as they can. They're actually gaining on the Mustang here significantly. I don't think any position can be exchanged through these corners though. It does lift off a little bit on approach to this fast left-hander. Keeps it clean and tidy. Tom Morris Jones using as much of that exit curb as possible, both sticking to the right hand side of the track. Coming through that section though, you can see Marcin Shibor in the rearview mirror has dropped off a little bit from where they were at the start of that straight, so those gaps certainly widened there. Both going through the carousel now, trying not to exit the carousel. Of course, if you do go onto the outside of the corner there, it does slow you down significantly. But Dark Skull, Tom Morris Jones and Shibor both all went through there cleanly. Dark Skull looking to gain those tenths of a second on Tom Morris Jones. Tom Morris Jones obviously taking that position at the start of this lap. So of course, now trying to defend it. Further back though, and in P19 we've got a four-way battle at the moment for P15. P15 Pavlovitz is defending from Penkovskis, Espinoza, Blowbaum and Picano. See all 5 cars in front. The Audi is involved with that as well. You can see the Audi getting a potential wider line on that corner there, losing out a little bit to the Ferrari, but managing to maintain the position at the moment. Going through these corners, it's going to be nose to tail. A bit of a lift off there from Picano, not able to gain many tenths through this section. Of course, if you do gain the tenths, you'll be stuck behind someone, and then it's only going to add to the danger of this race. So, smart decision to lift off there. Regain their control of things. There's a blue flag there on the inside. Hopefully no issues caused, which is good to see. These cars are still nose to tail. 5-way battle for P14 at the moment. All filtering through these corners, heading towards the mini carousel now. It's going to be Mustang leads BMW, leads Audi, leads Ferrari. Of course, Picano in the Aston Martin in the back here, looking to gain as much as they can. One of only a few Aston Martins on the grid today. Oman Racing with TF Sport. Very good performance so far. I believe Picano has gained a significant number of positions to start this race. 48 positions gained. Looking for one more now as they approach Blowbaum in front. Going to be pulling out to the right hand side of the circuit. We a bum draft actually from the Aston Martin. They both pull out to the right now though. Take the position from Penkovskis. Penkovskis loses out to both cars there as they go through. It is a calamity of cars now. The Ferrari on the outside having to back out from the Audi. The Audi potentially putting on some pressure to the Mustang. And of course the Ferrari trying to gain as much as they can as well. Picano taking the smart decision just to back out from that. Certainly plenty of action going on here. Cars are all over the place. They're going to have to be going into the pit lane though, so they're going to have to all enter decently well and not, of course, crash into each other. There's bit of contact in front. The Audi did unfortunately hit into the rear of that Mustang. The Mustang, of course, might potentially get a penalty from the game for speeding the pit lane, but we'll see how that turns out. As mentioned in chat, watch out for the pit lane entry speed, of course. When you're coming in that close together, it will be quite tight. All cars are in the grid, are in the pit lane now, though. The first two drivers have left the pit lane. You can see that Yantiri is out, Ivanik is out, Schwander is out, Cheshire's out, Rejmont is out, and Tukachenko is out as well. Interesting to see the time in the pit lane as well. The time stopped for Yantiri was 32 seconds, Ryan Cheshire 36 seconds, Rejmont was 42 seconds. That was of course due to the 10-second penalty which they had picked up in the first hour, so that did lose them a little bit of time. But Tukachenko 36 seconds, Zimmerman 41 seconds, so a little bit more potentially due to damage there as well. Nicholas Wade though only doing 24 seconds stopped, so potentially only getting in some fuel into that car. Of course, the tyre change in ACC is 30 seconds flat, so no tyres changed from Wade. An interesting choice. Gained about 20 or so seconds as a result of that, maybe even 10. We'll be seeing what they can do. Ryan Cheshire though, currently as it stands 16 seconds back from Schwander. He is in P4 now at the moment. Of course Rejmont did lose that position they were in due to the penalty they had, so of course Ryan is having to gain a lot of time in this second stint, but of course I have no doubt that he will do it. On exit of the pit lane, Pavlovitz and Butol are relatively close. Butol actually, that's not Buttle, that's another driver, it's Alexis in front. The timing sheet hasn't updated for me, unfortunately. Potentially Truba in front. I'll update you in just a second when my timing sheet refreshes. So, Predkovskis looking for a position change out the pit lane as well. 0.4 seconds back from the BMW in front. Blaubaum looking for one as well. Then we'll throw a racing Ferrari on the rear of that Lexus. Gaps have certainly started to spread out a little bit more now though, as a result of the pit stops. Closest gap we have in the top 10 is Sotskov behind Tukachenko. 3 seconds exists between those two drivers. Zimmerman of course now in P7 as well. Also support for Ryan in the chat. Of course, Maxime was the driver to do the qualifying for Ryan Cheshire, so he's going to be on the podium with Ryan. Ryan is flying through these corners though, keeping as tight as he can to the apexes, not trying to touch the grass, braking as late as they can into the corners. About 14 seconds now to Schwander. As I said, it started about 15. There's been about a second gained so far in this lap, but I have a feeling that will start to diminish a little bit more. Frankowskis looking for a position change to the McLaren in front. Of course, 6-hour race today. We have plenty of drivers who are doing this solo. Ryan Cheshire being one of those doing the race at least solo. Maurice Schwander doing it solo. Ilya Ivanik doing it solo. We have seen a driver swap for the P1. Lexus though. Emre Burak Sonmez is now in the Boulder Squad Racing number 276. Of course, that's swapped over from Jan Thierry, who did the first hour very well. There's about a second gap to Ivanek behind. You can see the Lexus just behind, trying to gain as much time on Sonmez as possible. Boulder Squad Racing done an incredible job in this race so far to get into where they are, so they hopefully will be able to maintain that position. Of course, the first hour stint timer is about to end with 30 seconds left of it, so if anyone hasn't pitted yet, they're going to be at danger of a drive-through if they don't enter the pit lane shortly. Seems like most have done a pit stop though, so hopefully no drive-throughs do come out from it. On board with Sonmez, battling through the blue flags at the moment. We'll jump on board with Ivanek instead to see what they can gain on Sonmez, battling with the blue flags as well. Did gain a little bit of an advantage because of that blue flag. Disrupting the P1 position more than P2, but we'll see how this develops. Obviously, Lexus versus Lexus, it is equal machinery through this battle on track. Got a request for number 986 as well. The number 986 car is in P31 at the moment. Andrea Bratescu is in the Ferrari. They've had quite a few battles, quite a few mistakes and stuff as well during this race, but the battles that they've had have been very good. They've had plenty of overtakes happen. They're currently 6 seconds back from P30. Kellerman, Over Limit Racing driver, is in front, but they've got 17 seconds back, or 17 seconds behind to Meshenjik. So a fairly decent gap. You can see on the track map, the right hand side, the number 986 car is in bliss at the moment. They've got nothing in front, nothing behind for quite some time. Further back though, Daniel Petruccia is 0.4 seconds back from Ivanov, looking for a position gain. Ivanov in that Porsche, back in another battle. We saw them defending from another Ferrari earlier on in the race, and now they are back at it doing again. Seeing what comes from this. Just a few positions behind as well. Hamza Badir is looking for a position gain on Fox. Hamza Badir, of course, started this race in P56, has gained 19 positions since the start of this race into P37, is looking for another one on this Aston Martin. Unfortunately, that's Ivanov in a very unfortunate position there on the exit of that corner. Hopefully they're not going to be too much of a problem to the cars behind, as they are on quite a fast section of the track, but it seems like they've all got through fairly decently. So Ivanov unfortunately lost out a few positions as a result of that. Of course, Meshenjik managing to gain that position as a result. Not sure if there was contact, but of course if there was, stewards will be looking at it. Marty Fox is now putting pressure on Petruccia. Petruccia putting pressure on Funky. It's Ferrari versus Aston Martin at the moment. Ferrari going wider on that corner. Jumping back further, Capiapan unfortunately getting an incident there as they were overtaking the Porsche during a fast section of the circuit. They've picked up a bit of damage, hopefully not too much in that McLaren, but they will potentially be losing a bit of time as a result of that. Sullivan was the Porsche included in that. Of course, stewards again will be looking at it, see if there's anything to penalise from it. We'll see what comes out of it. Espinosa, it's really unfortunate to see that Audi there really badly battle damaged. It seems like they've had a mistake at some point. They've of course decided to leave the race as it is now, so that's unfortunate to see. The Audi was of course doing so well. There has been a position change for Sonmez and Ivanik. Sonmez has lost that P1 position, which was ever so gracefully held by Jan Thierry in that first stint. Sonmez is now 0.6 seconds back from Ivanik. Ivanik is looking to cling on to that P1 position now and maintain it for the rest of the race. Less than 5 hours to go now. Of course, we are heading in towards the sunset time as well. You can see the sun peeking through the trees. We'll be heading into the darkness shortly as well. Going to number 28, got a request for car number 28. Car number 28 is, I believe, in P20, has just gained a position on Niederhauser. And is currently trying to defend that position back. Prina, of course, was involved in the incident with, I believe, Ryan Cheshire at the start of the race. Potentially not Ryan Cheshire, I'm making a mistake. But Prina was involved in an incident and has been able to pick themselves up into P20, which is still a strong position. 2.6 seconds back from Prenkovskis at the moment, but having to defend from Niederhauser behind. 0.7 seconds between those two. Prina, of course, had some very fast lap times being set in that first stint, so will of course be setting some very fast lap times during the second stint as well. About 2 minutes distance to the leader. Sonmez and Ivanik have been battling again. There's been a position change for Sonmez. Sonmez back up into P1. Ivanik potentially making a mistake there. 3 seconds back from Sonmez. And now he's having to look at his rear view mirror for Marie Schwander in P3. How does my game run smooth? Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have a good graphics card to process this. Of course, 60 or so cars on the grid. We have to turn down your graphics to embellish it. I've had a few frame drops, but I've luckily been able to keep it going quite well. I don't have the graphics on full max, but they are on quite high. This battle is, of course, for Schwander and Ivanik. This is a battle for P2 as it stands in the race. Sonmez in P1 did lose the position to Ivanik just a lap ago, but did gain that back a few corners ago, and of course is now 4 seconds in front of Ivanik, so maintains that P1 position. Ivanik, of course, looking to gain back that time that they lost, but is also having to defend from Schwander, who is now 0.4 seconds back from Ivanik. Nathan Cartwright, who we were on board with quite a bit during qualifying, is following behind the Lexus of Jacobowitz. 0.2 seconds between these two. Nothing major to be gained through there. Lexus a little bit wide on that corner though. Nothing too much to change. I'll keep our eye on it. 0.4 seconds between those, and similarly Ulrich Ulrichsen has 0.4 seconds back from Cataldo. Cataldo 0.4 seconds back from Schubert as well. The ISS Racing Team Lexus in front has that distinctive blue livery. Recognise it from anywhere. Plenty of tenths gained through that section of track there from Ulrich. Ulrich looking for those tenths to gain, and of course Cataldo looking to both defend and attack Schubert in front. Of course, this race is hosted by ACM Racing, acm-racing.com if you want to take part. There's been a position change there for Ulrichsen and Cataldo. Cataldo potentially having an issue on the exit of that corner there. You can see just how much that sunset might potentially be impacting drivers now. Of course, if we jump into the inside cockpit view, when you're facing the sun, that will impact the drivers a little bit on their visibility, but nothing too major so far. Cataldo did lose that position to Ulrichsen, who is now in P14. Cataldo now 0.4 seconds back from P14. How is number 151 doing? Number 151 is in P39 at the moment, defending from Sullivan behind. They, I believe, made an overtake in the previous few laps. So of course is defending that position that they gained. But Mustafa is doing well so far. Started in P51, up in P39 at the moment. So 12 positions gained since the start of this race, and is pulling away from Sullivan behind. So has 2.9 seconds to gain until Petruccia in front. You can see that Ferrari just on the brow of the hill ahead. Seeing how they continue on. Up front, still 0.4 seconds between Schwander and Ivanik. It is Lexus versus Lexus. Of course, Ivanik was having a battle with Sonmez, who you can see in that white Lexus just a little bit further up front. Both exiting the corner onto the dotting gun nicely. Getting the slipstream underneath the Audi Sport sign. Past a petrol station with a very nice sandwich shop. Down the long straight, up the hill towards the bridge. Going to be Maurice Schwander potentially looking for a move here. Pulls out to the right hand side. More than likely, there we go, out into the right hand side, looking for a position change. We'll jump onto Helicam. They are side by side, as equal as can be at the moment. They are heading towards the fast left and right handers. It seems like Ivanik had to let go of the throttle there a little bit to allow Schwander to go through. Schwander is now in P2, but will of course have to gain some more tenths of a second to Ivanik. Of course, Sonmez in front. You can see that white Lexus that is coming across the line for Boulder Squad Racing, 3 seconds in front. Has a battle in the previous lap, but was able to gain that position back, and will now have to defend from both Schwander and Ivanik in the rear view mirror. These top three are fairly close, but P4 is 13 seconds back. Ryan Cheshire, of course, started in P42 from his teammates' qualifying position. Is gaining many positions in this race so far, has built their way up, I believe 38 positions into P4, has set the fastest lap of the race with an 8-minute 10-second 0.5, and is of course 12.8 seconds back from Ivanik. This battle in up front will lead to Cheshire gaining more tenths of a second, so of course go in his favour, and hopefully the battle becomes a four-way battle for P1. It'll be quite interesting to watch. Alexei Mihin is looking for a position change on Nicholas Way in front. Nicholas Way, it is Ferrari versus Ferrari. As he's getting the slipstream into the left of the straight. WDES Alexei Mihin going to be taking the outside line for the first corner. We'll have the inside line for the second corner. So you can see both cars filtering through there, keeping it tidy, leaving enough space for each other. It seems like the Ferrari has the better line through the exit there though. Lexus unable to gain as much tenths of a second. That'll be P9 remaining for Mihin. Nicholas Way said there's no way you're taking that position, and defended it quite valiantly. Ivanik 0.4 seconds back from Schwander. Of course, looking to get back that position that he lost on the Dottinger straight. You can see that sun now reflecting onto the screen. If I can try and find a good camera there, you can see it will potentially cause some issues for some of the drivers. It does look a bit smeary, a bit foggy at certain parts of the track with this weather, so the drivers will be wishing that sun sets sooner than ever. Does allow for some good photos though, I'm sure, as you can see the cars coming through here at the sunset. Nice orange glow on these cars. Bit of grass touching there on the entrance to that corner, no major deal though. A bit of grass touching on the exit from Schwander there as well. Mihin is once again battling for position with Nicholas Way, trying to put as much pressure on as possible. Through the corner, entering the Nordschleife now. Braking into the first left-hander. Nose to tail, Mihin is looking for as much time to be gained as possible. Of course, the Nordschleife, it's difficult to overtake, it's difficult to go side by side, so potentially going to be some risky moves being made. Hopefully it's all kept clean, and hopefully there is no contact coming out of it. Schwander has been overtaken by Ivanik. Seems like Schwander has made a mistake there, going very slow down towards the bottom of this hill. And Ivanik is now comfortably in P2. Schwander will now be having to look in his rearview mirror for the approaching Ryan Cheshire. You can see Ryan Cheshire's point of view. The Lexus in front is now visible, so only 3 seconds between these two. Schwander did lose out about 10 seconds from whatever happened on that hill there. Potentially a little bit of a spin on the exit for Schwander, potentially some contact. I didn't see much damage on that Lexus, so I don't think there was contact, but the stewards will be looking at it if there was any. Ivanik now confidently in P2 though, about 4 seconds back from Sonmez. Of course we saw Ivanik and Sonmez having a decent battle in the previous few laps, so of course I'm hoping that that maintains itself in the next few laps as well. Tom Morris-Jones, another driver who we've seen in plenty battles so far in this race, only 0.7 seconds back from Skull in front. There's been position change as well. Ulrich Ulrichsen unfortunately having some issues in that Ferrari. Plenty of damage on that car on the outside of the circuit, rejoining as well, so has lost out about 6 or 7 positions since the start of this lap. Hopefully causing no major contact for anyone else though, as the other cars just managed to avoid him there. Look at the damage on that Ferrari. It's gonna have to probably return to the pit lane in that Ferrari. The stewards will of course notify the driver if they are too dangerous. Tom Morris-Jones closed that gap to 0.4 seconds now though, looking for that P10 position. Of course, Tom Morris-Jones is a close friend of Ryan Cheshire's. Ryan Cheshire currently in P4, so Tom Morris-Jones trying to close that gap to his friend as much as he can. Quite hard to see from the sun now. Lamborghini taking a wider line there, potentially getting a better exit though compared to the Mustang. Both going to be keeping it tight to the apexes here though. Gaps across the grid have certainly spread out significantly now. Ivanov is 0.6 seconds back from Garco. Ivanov was one of the drivers who we saw in plenty of battles earlier, but did unfortunately have an incident at some point and then dropped a few positions, but we've just gained one on Garco at the moment. Garco, you can see that Ferrari just behind, now down in P43. Ivanov promoting himself into P42. Ulrichsen having further issues with their car. Looks like they'll probably return to the pit lane now as these drop down into P28. Unfortunate to see. Hopefully he gets back out racing. We'll be seeing what comes from that. Ansgar Mogul for the Vin Motorsport BMW, looking for a position on Pavlovitz at the moment. 0.6 seconds between these guys. Awesome livery on this BMW, by the way. Straka is looking for a position as well. This is a position with Schubert for P16. 1 second between those. There's a Nissan on the exit. The Simsenia's Nissan, I believe that was having a few issues. Hopefully they can get back to racing cleanly. But Divin Motorsport is flashing Schubert, looking for any distraction that he can cause. Looking for, of course, that position to be gained as a result. This race is of course sponsored by G-Portal. G-Portal provides all of our race servers, and you can see today doing extremely well with the performance for this server. 70 cars on the grid, not easy to handle, so of course the server is doing very well at doing so. It offers premium game servers with of course the best hardware and a clear web interface at fair prices. So of course if you do want to check out G-Portal, please do check out G-Portal. They are the sponsor of today's race. They are providing the servers for today's race, so please lend your support. Helps ACM, of course keeps on races going like this. So Straka 0.3 now to Schubert in front. Mihin still behind Nicholas Way. 0.2 seconds exists between these two now. As they come over the jump, it'll be front to back. A lot more airtime from the Lexus. Key. 0.6 seconds back from Marty Fox. You see the Aston Martin in front, glowing in the sunlight. Pavlovitz 0.2 back from the Reiter as well. The Reiter doing very well to maintain their P22 position. Not often we see that car at all on grid, so it is certainly very good to see. There's a three-way battle here for P16, potentially a battle for P15 as well. It is two Lexuses in front, Prenkovskis of course in a BMW. Lexus in front, Jan Straka is looking for any mistakes that can be made. We'll jump on board as there's a McLaren on the inside there, hopefully causing no issues when they rejoin. Gaining so much time through these corners is Jan Straka. Not able to make any move though on to Schubert. Schubert looking to defend that position. Look at the sunset. These drivers will be squinting as they come through here. Makes a perfect opportunity for photos though. Prenkovskis now all the way on the rear of that Lexus. It's going to be a train of slipstreams down the Dottinger Straight. Potentially some overtakes to happen. Of course, Lexuses will be faster than the BMW, but the BMW does have three cars in front that he's getting the slipstream off of, so potentially a few tenths of a second to be gained there. You can see that gap slowly closing. The Lexus in front of Straka does look to the outside of Schubert. Schubert is now blocked in to the Lexus in front, but he looks to the left-hand side of that car. Jan Straka now going to need some gap, potentially looking to the middle there. It's going to be quite tight for these drivers into this corner. Of course, these Lexuses going and blasting down this straight. The Lexus of Schubert and Straka have made their way through. Jakubowicz is now having to defend from the BMW, unfortunately losing out on that position as well. Jump on board with the passenger side point of view. Jan Straka reapplying the pressure onto Schubert. You can see them moving out into the right hand side of the circuit. It's a drag race down in towards turn 1 now. See the cars passing the M-Power sign. Both braking into turn 1. Jan Straka later on the brakes there, getting the apex nicely, has the inside line for the second corner, and that will be a position gained into P12 for Jan Straka. Of course, started this lap, or started the previous minute on P14, gained the position on Jakubowicz and gained the position on Schubert as well. Prenkovskis now looking to do a similar thing, putting pressure on Schubert in front, looking for a potential switchback there. All the way on the rear of that Lexus, it's nose to tail. Battle of who can brake later into this corner. Prenkovskis goes for the safer line, safer position on track. Alex Kellerman had to cede that position to Funke in front. Funke made that position gain into P29, and now Kellerman is in P30, potentially going to be fighting again with Rubczynski behind. Gosha Rubczynski is only 0.3 seconds back from the Ferrari in front. Ryan Cheshire now 0.3 seconds back from Schwander. Close between these two. Schwander defending his P3 position. Ryan Cheshire looking for yet another position gain on this race. Whoa, over the curb there goes the Lexus in front, falling under pressure slightly to Ryan Cheshire there, but managing to keep a hold of it. It was certainly very close, and I'm sure certainly a bit of sweat came out of Schwander in front as a result of that, but Ryan Cheshire applying that pressure brilliantly and causing those mistakes to happen. Just needs to make one happen, gain that position from it, and then try and catch up to Ivanik in front. And there we go then, another mistake from the Lexus, and that is how that position is gained by Ryan, covering off the outside line there, going for the racing line once again. That Lexus has been demoted down into P4 as a result. Ryan Cheshire continues his charge up in towards P1, P2 positions. 11 seconds to go now until P2. Of course, P3 is currently held by Ryan Cheshire. Start of this race in P42. 39 positions have been gained since the start of this race. 4.5 hours left of this race. I have no doubt that Ryan Cheshire will continue to power through into those higher positions. We'll see if Schwander can make any positions back though. He's looking down the outside of Ryan Cheshire. It's going to potentially be a close one into this one. And yeah, that position was gained by Schwander there. Ryan looking to fight for that position back through this section. It's going to be difficult to go side by side through there, but they managed to do it and they managed to keep it clean. And Ryan is now back in P3 as well. Nicely done there from these two drivers. Plenty of battling to happen, and we'll see if Schwander can gain any more as a result of that. Excellent weather. That sunset is so nice in ACC times. You can get some really cinematic shots out of this game. Ryan Cheshire, of course, I'm sure not focusing on the position of the sun at the moment. No, focusing on the position of Schwander in his rear view mirror. Schwander trying to put on the pressure that Ryan put onto him. Force a mistake, force a position to be ceded. Nothing so far though, and another 10th has been gained by Ryan Cheshire, so it seems like this position has been fairly solidified. Laporte in P38 is just behind Mustafa in P37. This is the battle for P37 at the moment. 0.1 seconds between these guys. Looks for outside from Laporte. Laporte taking that wider line, stays on track just and manages to get the inside line for the next corner as well. Potentially going to be a better line from the BMW though, but it seems that pposition is just going to be gained from Pierre Laporte there. Very nice job from the number 177 car. Starting in P64, now in P37, 27 positions gained since the start of this race, so plenty of good work being done. Alex Kellerman just lost out a position to Brogdon and Voloskov, I believe. Potentially a mistake off of that hill there, ceding those two positions to those two drivers. Now down in P32 is Kellerman. As I said, 4.5 hours left of the race. Plenty of action to come. Rikowskis still putting pressure on Jan Straka, but I'm not sure any position will be able to be gained from that. Jan Straka having an unfortunate entry into that corner, not able to gain any time. See how this progresses. Seems like Straka has just allowed that position to go though. Trying to find a good camera angle there. Rikowskis is now in P12. Jan Straka chosen a safe approach of not battling throughout this section of the track. Promoting themselves into P13 but keeping the car on track. Of course, smart decision to make. Keep the car on track, keep the car clean, and you finish the race. Nathan Cartwright now following behind Pavel Karpov. 0.1 seconds between these two drivers. Cartwright has lost 14 positions unfortunately since the start of this race, so he's looking to gain back some of those that he's lost, and this of course will be one of those. Unfortunately though, as now the sun is setting and we are heading in towards the final 4.5 hours of this race, I will be unfortunately having to end this stream and head on to the stewarding box. Of course, this has been the 6 hours of Nordschleife. I've got a request for car number 69 just quickly. I believe that is the Reiter of Sjoberg. I'll do that and then go on. Marcus Sjoberg, currently in P19, has gained 2 positions since the start of the race in the Reiter, but is currently defending his position to 2 cars behind Petescu in the Ferrari and Pavlovitz in the Mustang as well. So that Reiter is doing an incredible job on today's race, which is great to see. You don't see it often, but it is nice to see when you do see it. But yeah, as I was saying, unfortunately, I will have to end the stream now. I've got to head over into the stewarding box. It has been a pleasure to commentate this race for you. This has been ACM Racing's 6 hours of Nordschleife, part of the Nordschleife 2026 Endurance Series. Of course, mirrors the Nordschleife Landstrecken series in real life. We have an endurance race every weekend for 6 weeks straight. The Nordschleife Landstrecken series, of course, being one of those. Endurance race every 3 weeks in this one, and of course 5 sprint races a week as well, so plenty of action to get yourself into here at ACM. ACM-racing.com is the place to go. You can see in chat as well, Nightbot has posted the ACM website. If you want to join the Discord, it's there as well. Of course, everything is on the website. You can see 600,000 laps of data on there as well. Plenty on offer here at ACM, so come and join us if you want to get involved. I've been your host and commentator for today, Harry Goswell. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.